Welcome to Zoe Stories. I secretly wanted to be feminized. Now it's real. I never thought I'd admit it aloud. Not to anyone. Not even to myself. Yet, as I sat on the edge of my bed, my hands trembling slightly, I could no longer ignore the truth. I secretly wanted to be feminized. It wasn't just a fleeting curiosity or a passing thought. It had been there for years, quietly simmering beneath layers of convention and self-doubt. And now, for the first time, it wasn't just a fantasy. It was becoming reality. My name is Alex, a 27-year-old graphic designer living in a small but cozy apartment in downtown Chicago. My life, on the surface, seemed ordinary enough. Morning coffee, long hours in front of a screen, client meetings, and occasional happy hours with coworkers. But beneath that structured routine, there existed a secret world that no one knew about. A world where I could be Arya, soft, delicate, and fully feminine, a side of me I had never dared to reveal. Growing up, I had always been fascinated by the elegance and poise of women. Not in a superficial sense, but in a deep, almost visceral way. I admired the way they moved, the way they carried themselves, and the subtle power in their grace. As a teenager, I experimented quietly, borrowing my sister's clothes, trying on her makeup when she wasn't around, feeling a strange mixture of guilt and exhilaration. Those moments were fleeting, secretive, yet they left an indelible mark. As I grew older, the secret didn't fade. I learned to suppress it, burying it beneath societal expectations and the fear of judgment. I dated women, maintained a normal life, and convinced myself that those secret desires were just curiosities I had outgrown. But they never truly left me. Every time I passed a boutique, lingered a little too long at the makeup counter, or admired the elegance of a woman walking down the street, I felt a whisper of longing. And then there was Emma, my girlfriend of 2 years, vibrant, intelligent, and surprisingly perceptive. She had a playful sense of humor, and her curiosity about the world always intrigued me. I loved her, yes, but part of me feared that if I revealed my secret to her, everything would change. Emma had always been slightly adventurous, though, and that made me wonder, what if, just what if, she might understand? Might even encourage me? It was a Saturday evening, the kind that carried the quiet promise of freedom. Emma was out with friends, leaving the apartment empty and silent. The dim glow of the city seeped through the blinds, casting long shadows across the room. My heart pounded as I glanced at the carefully packed box I had hidden in the closet for months. High heels, skirts, lingerie, makeup, and accessories I had collected secretly, one piece at a time. Tonight, I told myself, tonight I would step fully into the fantasy I had been harboring for years. The moment I opened the box, a shiver ran down my spine. The soft fabrics and delicate textures seemed to hum with possibility. Each piece was more than clothing or makeup. It was a key to another version of myself, one I had longed to become. I touched a pale pink blouse, feeling the silky smoothness under my fingertips. My fingers lingered on a pair of lacy stockings, the faint scent of perfume lingering in the folds. Everything about it called to me, whispering promises of transformation and liberation. I hesitated, my mind racing. What if someone finds out? What if Emma comes home early? What if I can't do this? But even as the fear gripped me, a countercurrent of thrill surged through my veins. I was about to cross a line I had never dared to approach before, stepping into a world that had existed in secret for too long. And in that suspenseful tension between fear and desire, I felt alive in a way I never had before. I began with the essentials, carefully removing my usual clothes and replacing them with soft, feminine garments. The moment the fabric brushed against my skin, a shiver of excitement ran through me. Every movement, every adjustment, felt foreign and exhilarating. The stockings slid up my legs, hugging my thighs delicately. The skirt swished as I stepped, a soft whisper of sound that echoed in the empty apartment. My reflection in the mirror was startling, softer, more delicate, yet undeniably me. Next came the makeup. At first, my hands trembled as I applied foundation, mascara, and a subtle touch of blush. But as the contours of my face began to change, as my features softened under the brush, a sense of empowerment surged. Arya was emerging, delicate and vibrant, every stroke of makeup reinforcing the fantasy that had long remained a secret. The thrill was intoxicating, the combination of fear, anticipation, and the sheer joy of self-expression sent a rush of adrenaline through me. By the time I slipped into the heels, my heart was racing. The sound of the stilettos clicking against the wooden floor was a rhythmic drumbeat of liberation. I practiced walking, the balance unfamiliar yet thrilling. Each step was a dance between vulnerability and confidence, a physical manifestation of the duality I had always felt, Arjun and Arya existing simultaneously, yet seamlessly merging in these stolen moments. I paused, taking a deep breath and looking at myself in the mirror. The person staring back was both familiar and astonishingly new. The transformation was more than physical. It was emotional, spiritual, and profoundly intimate. Arya wasn't just a fantasy anymore. She was real, tangible, and present. The reflection revealed desires long suppressed, dreams long hidden, and the exhilarating truth of self-expression I had never dared to embrace openly. And just as the thrill reached its peak, a sudden knock at the door jolted me. My heart skipped a beat. Emma? Could she have returned early? My hands shook as I considered my options, the tension mounting to a near-palpable level. I glanced at my reflection, seeing both fear and exhilaration in my own eyes. The suspense was electric, the stakes higher than ever. Would this secret world remain safe, or would it all unravel in an instant? With a trembling hand, I took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next. The fantasy I had longed for, nurtured in secret, was no longer confined to thought or hidden corners. Arya existed, alive and undeniable. And tonight, everything was about to change. The knock at the door had faded, leaving only the faint hum of the city outside. My heart still raced, every beat echoing in my chest as if reminding me of the risk I was taking. Emma wasn't home yet, but the thought of her walking in at any moment sent a shiver down my spine. I closed the door carefully, locking it, and leaned back against it, letting out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Arya felt alive now, tangible, and yet that exhilaration was tinged with fear. I paced the apartment, feeling the swish of the skirt against my thighs, the delicate brush of stockings against my skin. Each movement reminded me that I was walking a tightrope between my secret desires and reality. What if Emma walked in? What if anyone saw me like this? The very thought sent a mixture of panic and thrill surging through me. There was power in the secrecy, in knowing that I alone carried this hidden identity, yet the vulnerability was intoxicating. I moved to the vanity, examining myself in the mirror. Arya's reflection looked back at me, soft, delicate, almost ethereal. My makeup had taken on a life of its own under the bright light, the subtle shimmer on the eyelids, the faint blush highlighting my cheekbones, and the carefully applied lipstick that made my lips look fuller, more feminine. Every detail had transformed me into someone I had dreamed of becoming in secret for years. And yet, beneath the thrill, a nervous tension gnawed at me. I remembered my first experiments as a teenager, the stolen moments in my sister's room, the thrill of wearing her clothes, the soft brush of her makeup against my skin. Back then, it had been forbidden, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. Now, as an adult, I could indulge fully, but the stakes were higher. Emma's absence gave me freedom, but it also carried the risk of discovery. Every shadow, every sound, made me jump. The heels clicked softly against the floor as I moved again, practicing a small stroll across the living room. Each step was deliberate, precise, an affirmation of Arya's existence. I loved the feeling, the elevation, the sway of my hips, the elegance in motion, but the unfamiliarity was a constant reminder of vulnerability. A stumble now could betray my secret, a sound could alert neighbors, a sudden knock could ruin everything. The thrill and fear intertwined, creating a tension that pulsed through every fiber of my body. I settled onto the couch, feeling the smooth fabric of the skirt brushing against my legs. My fingers idly traced the edge of a lace glove I had slipped on earlier, a small accessory that made the transformation feel complete. The sensation was intoxicating, soft, delicate, almost fragile, but powerful in the way it affirmed my secret self. I closed my eyes for a moment, imagining how it would feel if Emma discovered me like this.
Panic? Shock?
Curiosity? Acceptance? My mind raced with scenarios, each one escalating the suspense. The apartment felt alive with every sound: the distant honk of a car, the rustle of leaves outside, the faint buzz of the refrigerator. Each ordinary noise became amplified in my heightened state of alert, a constant reminder that my secret could be revealed at any moment. I took a slow, deliberate breath, trying to calm my racing heart. Arya existed fully now, yet she was still fragile, a delicate construct of desire and courage. I decided it was time to go further, to push the transformation into something more immersive. I opened the box again, pulling out a wig long, silky, with soft waves cascading down past my shoulders. Placing it carefully on my head, I adjusted it until it framed my face perfectly. The change was immediate. Arya's persona surged forward, more confident, more real. I barely recognized myself in the reflection. The thrill was overwhelming, the vulnerability heightened, and the suspense was almost unbearable. Next came the finishing touches, a delicate necklace that shimmered against my collarbone, a faint spritz of perfume that made me feel complete. I admired myself in the mirror, running my fingers through the wig, adjusting the makeup, ensuring every detail was flawless. Arya was no longer just a secret fantasy. She was real, tangible, alive. And yet, the tension never left. Emma could walk in any second. A neighbor could glance through the blinds. A phone call could ruin everything. I glanced at my phone, debating whether to message Emma. But the thought of her discovering me halfway through the transformation terrified me. The risk was too high, the thrill too potent, the fear too delicious. I put the phone down, letting my hands rest on my lap, feeling the smooth fabric of the skirt and the delicate brush of stockings against my thighs. The suspense, the excitement, and the vulnerability converged into a single, intense moment that left me breathless. As I sat there, Arya fully embodied, I realized something profound. This wasn't just about clothing or makeup. It was about identity, desire, and self-expression. It was about embracing a part of myself that had long been hidden, suppressed, and silenced. And as thrilling as it was equally terrifying. Every moment of indulgence carried the risk of exposure, judgment, and shame. The stakes were higher than ever, yet I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. The distant sound of a key turning in the lock sent my heart leaping into my throat. Emma was home early. My body tensed, every muscle coiled with anticipation and fear. The reality of the situation hit me. My secret was on the verge of being discovered. I could hide, change back, and pretend nothing had happened, or I could face the unknown, embrace Arya fully, and hope that the thrill, the desire, and the trust we shared would carry me through. I straightened in the mirror, letting Arya's confidence radiate outward, masking the panic beneath. The apartment felt smaller, every shadow a potential threat, every sound amplified. My pulse raced, every heartbeat a countdown to confrontation, exposure, or revelation. The suspense was nearly unbearable, yet the exhilaration of living fully as Arya made it irresistible. And then the door creaked open. The door swung open slowly, and my heart slammed against my ribs like a wild drum. Emma stepped inside, her laughter from the phone call still lingering on her lips. "Hey, you won't believe the crazy night I had with Wait." Her eyes froze mid-sentence as she saw me, fully transformed. Arya stood there in all her delicate, feminine glory, heels clicking softly on the wooden floor. The blush on my cheeks matched the faint pink of my blouse, and my chest tightened with a mix of fear, vulnerability, and exhilaration. Time seemed to slow. Emma's gaze flickered from my heels to my skirt, then to my carefully applied makeup. Her expression was a blend of shock, curiosity, and something else, something I couldn't immediately place. My breath caught. This is it, I thought. The moment where everything could change or collapse. I took a hesitant step forward, the swish of the skirt echoing in the quiet apartment. Emma, my voice faltered, caught between confession and fear. I wanted to explain, to tell her everything I had suppressed for years. But words felt inadequate, fragile in the face of the tension hanging between us. Aria's presence surged within me, giving me courage even as panic clawed at my chest. Emma's eyes softened slightly, but the surprise remained. Alex or Aria? She asked, a small smile playing at the corners of her lips. Her tone was curious, almost teasing, yet underscored with genuine intrigue. I felt a spark of relief, though it was tempered by uncertainty. She doesn't seem angry yet. Yes, I whispered. Aria. This is who I've always wanted to be. And I can't hide it anymore. My hands shook as I smoothed down the skirt, trying to radiate confidence I didn't entirely feel. The vulnerability was real, but so was the exhilaration, the thrill of living openly in a persona I had nurtured in secret for so long. Emma stepped closer, her gaze assessing, curious, almost mesmerized. You look incredible, she said softly. Her words sent a jolt of electricity through me, a mixture of validation and fear. Incredible? Or just polite? My mind raced. Every nerve screamed that the stakes had never been higher. Every secret desire I had indulged now hung exposed, and Emma's reaction could tip the balance toward acceptance, or catastrophe. I shifted nervously, feeling the unfamiliar sway of the heels beneath me. Each step was a reminder of the delicate duality I navigated, the thrill of feminine elegance, and the fear of exposure. Emma's presence amplified both. She wasn't just a witness. She was the arbiter of my hidden world, the one whose reaction could either validate or shatter the fantasy I had cultivated. I've wanted this for a long time, I admitted, voice trembling slightly. Not just dressing up. Being Aria. Feeling this. It's who I am inside. The confession hung in the air, heavy and fragile. Emma's expression softened further, her lips curving into a small, thoughtful smile. She reached out, lightly touching the edge of the wig that framed my face. The contact sent a shiver down my spine, the subtle brush of her fingers confirming that this wasn't just a private fantasy anymore. It was real, shared, and vulnerable. I had no idea, but I can see it now, she murmured. Aria, she's beautiful. You're beautiful. The words were like a spark lighting a fire inside me. Relief, thrill, and validation surged through every nerve. Yet even as Aria's confidence blossomed, the suspense lingered. What if Emma wasn't ready for this? What if she laughed, rejected me, or, worse, exposed my secret to the world? The stakes were immense, and the vulnerability was absolute. I took another step forward, the heels clicking deliberately. I've kept this hidden for so long. I didn't want anyone to see. Not friends, not family, not even you. But I can't anymore. The apartment seemed to shrink around us, every shadow, every corner magnifying the tension. The moment was intimate, electric, suspended between revelation and fear. Emma's eyes scanned me again, from the delicate necklace glinting on my collarbone to the subtle shimmer of eyeshadow highlighting my eyelids. She bit her lip, a gesture I interpreted as curiosity rather than judgment. It's a lot to take in, she admitted, her voice soft but measured. But I want to understand. I want to know who Aria is, who you are. Her words, tentative yet open, made my pulse race. Validation mingled with suspense, creating a heady mixture of relief and lingering anxiety. I realized that while this moment was intimate and personal, it was also fragile. One wrong word, one unexpected reaction, could undo everything. Yet the thrill of sharing this secret, the joy of living fully as Aria, even if only in this moment, was intoxicating. I moved closer to the vanity, adjusting the makeup with deliberate care, letting Emma watch. The subtle brush strokes, The careful shaping of the lips, the blending of shadows. All of it became part of the performance, the ritual of transformation, and the shared secret between us. Emma's eyes followed every movement, her curiosity growing, yet never crossing into judgment. The suspense escalated as Emma circled behind me, her hands hovering near my shoulders, inspecting the delicate blouse and the gentle drape of the skirt. How does it feel?" she asked softly, almost reverently. I closed my eyes, savoring the sensation of her attention, the thrill of the heels beneath me, the brush of stockings against my legs, the smoothness of the skirt swaying with every movement. "It feels like me," I whispered. "Like who I've always wanted to be." Emma nodded slowly, her gaze intense yet tender. "Then I want to see more. I want to help you explore this." The words were shocking in their intimacy and daring. The thrill surged through me. Validation, desire, and excitement intertwined with suspense and fear. The apartment, once a safe private haven, now became the stage for a deeper transformation, one that was both exhilarating and terrifying. The distant sound of a car outside made my heart jump, a reminder that the outside world still existed, that secrecy was fragile, that exposure could happen at any moment. The tension escalated, each second a careful balance between thrill and risk. Aria's persona, vibrant and confident, surged forward even as the suspense gripped me with unrelenting intensity. As Emma's hand rested lightly on mine, guiding me toward a mirror, I realized that this was only the beginning. The transformation, the exploration, and the suspense were far from over. Tonight, Aria would live fully, but the risks, the vulnerability, and the tension would only intensify from here. The apartment felt charged, electric with the tension of revelation and exploration. Emma's presence beside me made every movement more thrilling, more precarious. Aria's heels clicked softly against the floor as I practiced shifting my weight, adjusting my posture, and moving with deliberate elegance. Each motion was both exhilarating and nerve-wracking, a tightrope walk between poise and potential disaster. Emma circled me slowly, her eyes scanning every detail of my transformation. "Your makeup, the way your eyes look, it's like you've become someone else entirely," she murmured. The soft sound of her voice was intoxicating, yet it also reminded me of the fragility of the moment. One misstep, one misjudged word, and the secret I had protected for years could be exposed. My heart raced, a mix of excitement and anxiety pulsing through me like electricity. I adjusted the wig again, smoothing the silky strands over my shoulders. The hair framed my face perfectly, accentuating the delicate features Aria had taken hours to cultivate. My fingers brushed lightly over the lace of my blouse, feeling the contrast of fabric against skin, the delicate touch reminding me of just how vulnerable and yet empowered I felt. Each accessory, every subtle detail, was a step deeper into this alternate persona I had longed for. Emma stepped closer, tilting her head thoughtfully. "Do you feel different?" she asked softly. Her gaze was intense, curious, almost reverent. I closed my eyes for a moment, savoring the sensation of the skirt swishing against my thighs, the stockings hugging my legs, the subtle pressure of the heels beneath me. "Yes," I whispered, "different but also more me." The words hung in the air, a declaration of identity, desire, and the thrill of transformation. Yet, beneath the exhilaration, a creeping tension remained. What if someone knocked at the door? What if a neighbor glanced through the blinds? Every shadow, every sound, became magnified in the heightened state of suspense. Aria's confidence surged, but the vulnerability never fully faded. Emma reached out, guiding my hands as I applied a subtle touch of blush to my cheeks. "It's mesmerizing," she said. "Watching you become her, it's like seeing a hidden world come alive." Her voice carried awe and curiosity, and my pulse quickened. I realized that the trust we shared in this moment was fragile yet profound, a delicate balance of desire, exploration, and suspense. I took a slow step toward the mirror, practicing a confident sway of the hips. The reflection staring back at me was both familiar and astonishingly new. Aria's delicate features, enhanced by makeup, the flowing wig, and the elegant outfit, projected a persona that was entirely her own. My heart pounded with a mixture of pride and fear. I was exposed in ways I had never imagined, yet the thrill was irresistible. Suddenly, the faint hum of the city outside shifted, a car horn, a distant shout, and my body tensed. The reality of vulnerability surged through me. In this quiet apartment, Arya was completely exposed, and the risk of discovery was real. Emma noticed my flinch and gently squeezed my hand. "Hey, it's okay," she whispered. Her reassurance grounded me, yet the suspense lingered like a shadow, reminding me that our private world could be interrupted at any moment. I moved to a chair and perched delicately, practicing sitting gracefully in heels, the swish of the skirt echoing softly. Every adjustment, every movement, became a lesson in poise and confidence. Yet, as thrilling as it was to embody Arya, I couldn't ignore the internal struggle. Shame, fear, excitement, and desire swirled together in a chaotic storm. What if Emma judges me? What if I'm not as confident as I think? Emma knelt beside me, her gaze unwavering. "Do you want me to help?" she asked softly. The question carried layers of intimacy, trust, and suspense. My chest tightened. Accepting help would deepen the connection between us, but it also increased vulnerability. I nodded slowly, allowing her to guide my hands as I applied mascara with precise movements. The touch of her fingers on my skin made my pulse quicken. Every stroke of makeup, every adjustment of clothing, deepened the transformation and heightened the suspense. Minutes passed in this delicate, intimate dance. Emma's encouragement, soft words, and subtle guidance allowed me to fully embrace Arya. I practiced standing, walking, and posing, each motion more confident than the last. The reflection in the mirror became a symbol of possibility, a persona I could inhabit fully, yet one that remained precariously balanced on secrecy and trust. The sound of a car door slamming outside jolted me, and I froze. The heightened suspense wrapped around me like a vice. My eyes flicked toward the window, imagining neighbors peering in, imagining the fragile illusion shattering. Emma noticed my hesitation and gently placed a hand on my shoulder. "You're safe," she whispered. "For now, you're safe." I exhaled slowly, letting the tension ebb just enough to savor the exhilaration. The blend of fear, thrill, and self-expression was intoxicating. Arya had fully emerged, yet the suspense of exposure and the uncertainty of tomorrow lingered, sharp and unrelenting. I realized then that this journey was far from over. Tonight was only the beginning. With a final glance in the mirror, I adjusted the necklace, smoothed the wig, and straightened my posture. Arya's confidence radiated, yet beneath it lingered the fragile vulnerability of secrecy. Every shadow, every noise, every glance from Emma reminded me of the stakes. The thrill, the transformation, and the suspense had merged into a single, intoxicating experience, a delicate balance between liberation and fear. As I settled into the persona fully, I knew that the coming hours would test everything, my confidence, my secrecy, and my trust in Emma. The transformation was complete, but the suspense, the internal struggle, and the intoxicating thrill of living as Arya were only intensifying. The night stretched ahead, full of possibilities, risks, and discoveries. The apartment was quiet again, the city noises fading into a low hum. I was still perched on the edge of the couch, Arya fully present in every delicate movement and soft curve. Emma had returned to her spot on the armchair, her eyes following me with a curious intensity, her presence both comforting and electric. I felt exposed, yet exhilarated, every nerve alive with anticipation and tension. I had almost forgotten how much courage it took to fully inhabit this persona. Each step, each adjustment of the skirt, each tilt of the head in the mirror reminded me of how fragile this moment was. The thrill of transformation was intoxicating, but the stakes were higher than ever. One wrong sound, one misjudged movement, one knock on the door, and the illusion could collapse instantly. Emma's voice broke the tension. "Do you want to try something different?" she asked softly, her gaze both teasing and serious. I nodded, my pulse quickening. I trusted her, but the suspense of what she might suggest sent a shiver down my spine. She reached for a small box on the side table, opening it to reveal an assortment of accessories, bracelets, earrings, and a delicate hairpin sparkling in the dim light. Here, she said, holding out a pair of earrings. These will complete the look. They're subtle, but they'll make you feel more Arya. I hesitated, then allowed her to place the earrings gently against my earlobes. The contact was electric, a mixture of reassurance and tantalizing vulnerability. The small gesture made the transformation feel deeper, more intimate, and undeniably real. As I adjusted the earrings, a sudden noise outside the apartment startled me. A car door slamming, the faint echo of footsteps on the sidewalk. My heart leaped into my throat. Panic surged as I imagined a neighbor peeking through the window, or worse, someone entering unexpectedly. Emma noticed my flinch and placed a calming hand on my knee. Breathe, she whispered. We're safe for now. I exhaled slowly, letting the tension ease just enough to focus on Arya. The heels still clicked softly against the wooden floor as I shifted positions, the skirt swaying delicately with each movement. The stockings clung tightly, adding both comfort and constraint. I loved the feeling of each step, each motion a reminder that this persona was mine, yet the fear of exposure lingered like a shadow over every graceful movement. Emma stood and approached, holding a small handheld mirror. Look at yourself, she said softly, positioning it so I could see my reflection from every angle. The effect was mesmerizing. Arya's delicate features, the carefully applied makeup, the flowing wig, the elegant outfit, all reflected back in a perfect, feminine harmony. I traced the outline of my lips in the reflection, feeling a surge of pride and fear. This was me, Arya, and yet I was completely exposed to Emma's gaze, vulnerable in ways I had never experienced. The suspense escalated further when my phone buzzed on the coffee table. I froze, staring at the screen. A message from my boss, an urgent note about a project. Panic surged. Could I respond without breaking the illusion? Could I hide Arya long enough to deal with reality? My hands trembled as I reached for the phone, feeling the soft brush of stockings against my legs and the delicate sway of the skirt. Every movement was a tightrope walk between control and exposure. Emma noticed my hesitation. Do you want me to handle it? She offered, a playful yet caring smile on her lips. I nodded, feeling both relief and a flutter of excitement. Handing her the phone was a moment of trust, of vulnerability, and it intensified the suspense. My secret world was fully shared now, and every interaction, every gesture, carried the weight of potential discovery. With the phone handled, I returned my attention to the mirror. I practiced small gestures, adjusting the wig, smoothing the blouse, tilting my head just so. Each motion reinforced Arya's presence, yet the tension never fully lifted. The fear of exposure, the thrill of transformation, and the intimacy with Emma created a cocktail of emotions that left me both exhilarated and breathless. And then the unexpected happened. A knock at the door, louder this time, more insistent. My heart stopped. Who could it be? I glanced at Emma, who raised an eyebrow, equally curious and alarmed. The suspense was immediate and suffocating. I could feel every muscle tense, every heartbeat echoing in my ears. Emma whispered, "Do you want me to check?" Her voice was calm, yet the underlying tension mirrored my own. I shook my head, unable to decide. The knock repeated, louder, more urgent. My pulse raced. I realized in that moment that the night had escalated beyond private indulgence. The outside world, with its potential for discovery, was pressing in, threatening to unravel everything. I took a deep breath, adjusting the skirt and standing tall in the heels. Arya's confidence surged forward, masking my panic. Every step toward the door was deliberate, controlled, a balance between feminine grace and inner fear. I reached the door, my hand trembling on the handle. The suspense was unbearable, the fear of discovery, The thrill of transformation and the intimacy with Emma all converged into a single, electric moment. I opened the door just slightly, peeking through the crack. A delivery man stood there, holding a package. Relief washed over me, but only slightly. The tension remained, a reminder that the world outside could always intrude, that secrecy was fragile, and that Aria's persona, though empowered, existed in a delicate balance. As I accepted the package and closed the door, my heart continued to race. The thrill of living fully as Aria was intoxicating, yet the suspense, the constant risk of exposure, remained ever present. The night stretched ahead, full of possibilities, challenges, and the intoxicating tension of secrecy and desire. The evening deepened, and the city's distant hum became a backdrop to the intense, private world I shared with Emma. Aria's presence pulsed through me with every delicate movement, the swish of the skirt, the subtle sway of the hips, the confident tilt of the head. Each step, each gesture, solidified the persona I had longed to become, yet the thrill was inseparable from tension. Every moment felt precarious, as if the slightest sound could shatter the illusion. Emma observed silently, her eyes flicking over every detail, every delicate feature, every nuance of posture and movement. Her curiosity was a tether and a thrill simultaneously. I felt exposed yet exhilarated, my pulse racing as I practiced the graceful motions I had perfected in countless secret moments. The reflection in the mirror showed a woman I had dreamt of becoming, confident yet vulnerable, bold yet fragile. A sudden thought struck me. The world outside could still intrude at any moment. Every sound, every movement beyond the walls of our private space was amplified in my mind. The suspense was suffocating, but it fueled Aria's persona. I straightened, letting the confidence radiate outward while my heart hammered with the delicate tension of possible exposure. Emma stepped closer, holding a delicate hairpin. "This will complete your look," she said softly. Her hand hovered briefly near my hair before placing the accessory, the touch sending a shiver down my spine. Each gesture heightened both the thrill and the vulnerability. The persona of Aria was no longer a private indulgence. It had become real, tangible, and precariously exposed. I glanced at the mirror, adjusting the wig and smoothing the skirt. The reflection stared back, elegant, delicate, undeniably feminine. I ran my fingers along the neckline of the blouse, feeling the soft fabric against my skin. Each motion reinforced the transformation, but also reminded me of the fragility of secrecy. One mistake, one noise, one unexpected moment, and it could all end. A distant sound made me flinch, a car horn, footsteps on the sidewalk. Emma noticed my reaction and squeezed my hand reassuringly. "Breathe," she whispered. Her calm presence helped anchor me, yet the tension remained, knotting in my chest and sending a thrill through every nerve. The suspense of secrecy, the exhilaration of transformation, and the intimacy we shared coalesced into a heady, almost unbearable intensity. I practiced a slow, deliberate turn in front of the mirror, letting the heels guide my movements. The swish of the skirt, the careful balance of my weight, the confident tilt of the shoulders, all of it was Aria. And yet, beneath the surface, vulnerability lingered. The thrill of exposure was intoxicating, but it was also frightening. Every sound outside, every shadow, every second held the potential to reveal my secret. Emma stepped behind me, adjusting the wig slightly, and whispered, "You're perfect." The words sent a jolt of electricity through me. I exhaled, letting the validation wash over me, but the suspense of potential discovery never left. My pulse quickened with the thought that every moment spent as Aria could be interrupted, every gesture could be witnessed, every secret exposed. I moved to sit gracefully, adjusting the skirt over my legs, feeling the stockings against my thighs, the heels stabilizing me as I shifted. Each movement was a practice in elegance and poise, yet every subtle sound heightened the tension. The thrill of embodying Aria fully collided with the fear of exposure, creating a cocktail of emotion that left me breathless, yet completely alive. Emma watched intently, her gaze focused yet gentle. "You've become her," she said softly. "Arya is real. And she's beautiful." Her affirmation solidified something deep within me, the realization that this was not just a fantasy, not just a private indulgence, but a persona that could exist fully, intensely, and vividly. The suspense remained, but so did the exhilaration, the intoxicating combination that had driven me here. Then, a sudden thought surged through my mind. The night was still young, and the world beyond our private space could intrude at any moment. Every knock on the door, every unexpected visitor, every sound outside was a reminder of the fragility of secrecy. The suspense tightened around me like a coil, heightening every sensation, every movement, every heartbeat. I straightened, adjusting the necklace and smoothing the wig one last time. Arya was complete. Elegant, delicate, confident, and yet undeniably exposed. The persona I had longed to become was real, but the risks had never been higher. Every second from this point forward carried the weight of potential exposure, the thrill of transformation, and the intoxicating suspense of secrecy. Emma reached out, taking my hand, and whispered, "Are you ready to see how far this can go?" My pulse surged, a mix of excitement, fear, and anticipation. The build-up had reached its peak. The persona was fully realized, the suspense at its height, and the stakes impossibly high. Every heartbeat, every movement, every whisper was charged with intensity. I nodded slowly, letting the thrill, the vulnerability, and the anticipation wash over me. Tonight, Arya would fully live, and the suspense, the excitement, and the transformation would only escalate from here. The stage was set for what was to come, and nothing could prepare me for the intensity, surprises, and challenges waiting in the next chapter. The night had grown heavier, the city lights flickering faintly through the windows. Arya stood in front of the mirror, every detail of her persona polished and poised, yet the suspense hung like a cloud over the room. Emma lingered nearby, a quiet observer, her presence a tether of both reassurance and thrill. The intimacy of the night, combined with the tension of potential discovery, created a charged atmosphere. I was adjusting the hem of the skirt, heels clicking softly against the floor, when a sudden, sharp sound made me freeze. A loud knock at the door. My heart jumped violently in my chest.
Who could that be?
The suspense struck like lightning, my pulse racing uncontrollably. Emma's eyes widened, a mirror of my own anxiety, and the room seemed to shrink around us. "Stay calm," Emma whispered, her voice steady but low. "I'll handle it." She moved toward the door, her movements deliberate, graceful, and confident. I watched, helpless and vulnerable, every muscle tense with anticipation. Arya's poise masked my internal panic, but I could feel every tremor in my body, every pulse of adrenaline surging through me. Emma opened the door slightly. A delivery man stood there, package in hand. Relief surged through me, but it was fleeting, my body still quivered, the thrill and fear entwined. The suspense was not just external, it had seeped into every nerve, every heartbeat, every trembling motion. Arya had to maintain grace under pressure, elegance under scrutiny, composure under fear. As the package was handed over and Emma closed the door, I exhaled shakily. The danger had passed, but the tension remained, simmering just beneath the surface. One false move, one unexpected sound. The thought haunted me as I turned back to the mirror, adjusting the necklace and smoothing the wig once more. Arya's reflection stared back, flawless, confident, yet the vulnerability in her eyes was unmistakable. "Are you okay?" Emma asked softly, her hand brushing lightly against my shoulder. The touch sent a shiver through me, blending reassurance with heightened awareness. I nodded, though my pulse still raced. The suspense was intoxicating, a delicate dance between thrill and fear. Every second in this persona carried the weight of secrecy, the risk of exposure, and the exhilaration of living fully as Arya. I moved toward the living room, practicing delicate steps in the heels. The swish of the skirt, the gentle sway of my hips, and the precise tilt of my head were all part of the transformation. Yet every sound outside, every distant footstep, amplified the tension. Arya's confidence masked my panic, but I was acutely aware of how fragile this reality was. One interruption could unravel everything. Emma followed, observing closely, her eyes reflecting curiosity, admiration, and a hint of mischief. "You're incredible," she murmured. "But are you ready for the next step?" The question sent a shiver down my spine. Next step? My pulse accelerated, fear and excitement intertwining. Whatever she meant, I knew it would push Arya further into exposure and vulnerability. The suspense escalated when my phone buzzed again, a message from a friend asking if I was still at home. Panic surged. Could I respond without revealing anything? Could I maintain the illusion of Arya while handling the outside world? Emma noticed my hesitation and gently guided my hand. "I've got this," she said. Her reassurance was comforting, yet the tension in my chest did not ease. Every heartbeat, every breath was charged with anticipation and risk. I returned to the mirror, adjusting the wig and checking the makeup. Each subtle shift, each careful gesture, reinforced Arya's presence, yet the fear of discovery was constant. The world outside could intrude at any moment, each sound a potential threat to the delicate balance I had created. Arya's confidence was a mask, beautiful and commanding, but beneath it, my nerves were taut with suspense. Then an unexpected sound, a faint creak from the hallway, made me freeze. Emma's eyes met mine, wide with alertness. The suspense became almost tangible, pressing against my chest. Whoever was there could see, could discover, could unravel the secret that had taken so long to manifest. I felt my stomach twist, the heels beneath me unsteady, every muscle poised for action, for concealment, for defense. Emma moved closer, her presence grounding me, yet the tension remained electric. "It's probably nothing," she whispered, but the doubt in both our eyes betrayed the statement. The night had escalated beyond playful exploration. It had become a high-stakes test of composure, secrecy, and identity. Arya's persona was fully realized, but the suspense was relentless. Every noise, every shadow, every heartbeat held the potential to change everything. I took a slow, deliberate breath, forcing my body to remain poised, elegant, and composed. Arya's reflection in the mirror was perfect, graceful, radiant, but vulnerable, aware, and tense. The suspense of the unknown loomed, and I understood that the next moments could redefine everything: my identity, my relationship with Emma, and the fragile world I had built around Arya. The tension coiled tighter with each passing second. Every sound outside, every flicker of movement, every whisper of fabric became amplified. I realized that being Arya was no longer just a private indulgence. It was a challenge, a test, a game of suspense where exposure could happen at any moment. The thrill was intoxicating, yet the stakes had never been higher. Emma's hand rested lightly on mine, her gaze steady, reassuring, and daring. "Whatever happens," she said softly, "we face it together." The words grounded me and fueled the adrenaline, blending comfort with the heightened tension of the unknown. I felt a shiver of anticipation. Arya was ready. The suspense was unrelenting, and the night was far from over. My pulse raced as I took a cautious step back, adjusting the skirt and smoothing the wig. The reflection in the mirror showed Arya, elegant, poised, breathtaking, but beneath that image, every nerve in my body screamed with anxiety. The suspense wasn't just external anymore. It had seeped into my very core, making each heartbeat feel like a countdown to potential exposure. Emma moved closer, her hand brushing lightly against my arm. "It's okay," she whispered, but even her calm reassurance couldn't dispel the tension. I nodded, swallowing hard, and focused on steadying my breathing. Each inhale and exhale became a tool to maintain Arya's composure, to project confidence even as fear clawed at me from within. Then, without warning, the intercom buzzed, a harsh, startling sound that made me jump. The sudden intrusion of reality sent a shiver down my spine. Who could it be at this hour? Panic flared, making my fingers tremble as I reached toward the console. Emma's hand found mine, gripping it firmly. "We'll handle it," she said, her voice a blend of authority and reassurance. I pressed the button, my voice catching slightly. "Hello." A muffled voice answered on the other end, a neighbor asking if everything was all right. Relief surged briefly, but the suspense didn't lift. My body remained tense, every muscle ready to react, every instinct alert. Aria's elegance was intact, but the vulnerability beneath it was undeniable. After the call ended, I sank slightly, clutching the hem of the skirt. Emma knelt beside me, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "You handled that perfectly," she said. Her praise warmed me, yet the tension lingered. Every knock, every unexpected noise, every moment of uncertainty had reinforced the reality. Being Aria was not just a transformation of appearance, it was a test of nerve, of poise, and of secrecy. I stood again, practicing a slow, measured walk toward the mirror. The swish of the skirt, the delicate click of the heels, and the sway of my hips were all part of the act, yet each movement now carried the weight of suspense. The intercom incident had reminded me how fragile my secret was, how quickly it could unravel if I weren't careful. Emma followed, her eyes bright with curiosity and a hint of mischief. "Do you feel the adrenaline?" she asked. Her voice was soft, teasing, yet grounded. I nodded, feeling a surge of exhilaration mixed with fear. The thrill of living fully as Aria had never been so intense. Every glance in the mirror, every subtle gesture, every whispered word from Emma heightened the emotional stakes. Suddenly, a more serious problem emerged. My phone buzzed again, a message from my boss about an urgent project that required immediate attention. My stomach knotted. Could I respond without compromising the illusion of Aria? Could I navigate the real world while fully inhabiting this persona? Emma noticed my panic and gently guided my hand to hers. "We can manage it together," she said. Her reassurance was comforting, yet the suspense tightened like a vice. As I attempted to draft a response, a loud thump echoed from the hallway. My heart lurched violently. Someone was at the door. I froze, caught between the persona of Aria and the instinct to protect my secret. Emma's hand rested lightly on my back, a grounding force, yet even her presence couldn't erase the terror of discovery. I took a slow, deliberate breath and moved toward the door, heels clicking softly, every step measured. The thump repeated, urgent, insistent, impossible to ignore. My mind raced. Should I open it? Could I maintain composure if someone saw me like this? The suspense was unbearable, every second stretching endlessly, every sound amplified into potential disaster. Emma's whisper was barely audible. "Whatever happens, stay Aria. You can do this." I nodded, letting her confidence infuse me with courage. With a trembling hand, I reached for the doorknob, poised between fear and exhilaration. The moment had come, a test of secrecy, transformation, and nerve. As the door slowly creaked open, my heart pounded like a drum. The suspense had reached its peak. Whoever, or whatever, stood on the other side would determine the course of the night, challenge the boundaries of Aria's existence, and test every ounce of confidence and courage I had cultivated. The door creaked fully open, and a familiar face appeared in the dim light, a neighbor I hadn't expected. Relief and panic collided in an instant. I froze, every nerve electrified. Aria's persona had to remain flawless, but my heart hammered in my chest like a drum. Emma stepped slightly in front of me, a protective yet encouraging presence, her eyes daring me to hold the facade. The neighbor smiled politely, unaware of the turmoil inside. "Sorry to bother you," they said, holding a package. "I just wanted to drop this off before heading home." Their casual tone was harmless, yet each word amplified the suspense. One misstep, one subtle reaction, and my secret could unravel in seconds. I took a deliberate step forward, smiling softly, letting Aria's elegance flow naturally. My hands trembled slightly as I accepted the package, but I forced a gentle laugh, a melodic sound that didn't betray the panic boiling beneath the surface. Emma's presence steadied me, her hand lightly brushing my back, a silent affirmation that we were a team in this precarious moment. Once the package was safely inside, the neighbor left, and the door clicked shut. I exhaled shakily, leaning against the wall, my knees weak from adrenaline. The suspense didn't fade. It morphed, transforming into a deeper, more intimate tension. The thrill of being fully Arya collided with the fear of exposure, making every heartbeat feel urgent, electric, and delicate. Emma stepped closer, her gaze intense, studying my reflection in the mirror. "You handled that perfectly," she whispered. "But now, I think it's time we take things further." The words sent a shiver down my spine. Arya's persona was complete, but Emma's suggestion hinted at a challenge I hadn't anticipated. My pulse surged, a mixture of excitement and fear twisting in my chest. I moved toward the mirror, adjusting the wig and smoothing the skirt, every motion deliberate, calculated, and poised. Arya's presence was fully realized, yet vulnerability lingered in every gesture. Emma's eyes followed me closely, noting every subtle adjustment, every minute expression. The suspense was no longer external, it had become internal, a test of courage, poise, and self-expression. Then, an unexpected twist shattered the fragile calm. My phone buzzed once again, another urgent message from work. Panic surged, making my hands tremble as I reached for it. Could I respond without compromising Arya? Could I navigate the real world while remaining fully in character? Emma noticed my hesitation and gave me a reassuring squeeze. "We'll figure it out together," she whispered. As I typed a careful response, the package from the neighbor shifted slightly on the table, catching the edge of the skirt. Time seemed to slow. I froze, aware of the delicate balance between grace and disaster. Every sound, every motion, every heartbeat felt amplified. The thrill of transformation intertwined with fear in a pulse-pounding mix that left me breathless. Emma's hand brushed my cheek, grounding me, reminding me that I wasn't alone. "You're doing amazing," she murmured. Her touch was both comforting and thrilling, sending a shiver down my spine. Arya's confidence was growing, yet the suspense remained suffocating. Every movement, every glance, every gesture carried the weight of exposure and the exhilaration of secrecy. Suddenly, the power flickered, plunging the room into momentary shadow. My heart leapt. The unexpected darkness intensified the suspense, turning every sound into a potential threat. Emma moved closer, her hand on my waist, guiding me gently as we navigated the dimly lit space. The thrill of Arya's persona collided with fear. Every step, every sway, every delicate adjustment of clothing now felt like a test of nerve. When the lights returned, the room seemed charged with electricity. Arya's reflection in the mirror was flawless, yet the vulnerability in her posture betrayed the tension I felt deep inside. The suspense of potential discovery, the thrill of transformation, and the intimacy with Emma created a heady, almost overwhelming intensity. Then, the most daring challenge arrived. Emma suggested I step onto the balcony for a brief moment, a simple act to test Arya's poise in front of the world, however unseen. My pulse surged. The outside world, even at a distance, represented exposure, risk, and a thrilling possibility of being seen. I nodded, heart hammering, and took careful steps toward the sliding door, feeling the delicate swish of a skirt, the firm click of the heels, and the light brush of the wind against my skin. Once outside, the city lights stretched before me, the cool night air caressing my face. Arya's persona fully emerged, elegant, poised, and breathtaking. Yet, every sense was heightened, every distant footstep, every honking car, every whisper of the wind carried the potential for discovery. Emma's presence behind me was reassuring, grounding, yet the suspense was electric, a delicate balance of exhilaration and fear. I inhaled deeply, letting the thrill wash over me. Arya was real, fully embodied, yet exposed in ways that heightened every emotion. The night, the city, Emma and the persona combined into a charged moment of suspense, transformation, and intimate vulnerability. Every heartbeat, every motion, every breath became a testament to courage, secrecy, and the intoxicating power of living fully as Arya. The cool night air brushed against my cheeks as I stood on the balcony, every delicate step in the heels a careful balance of grace and tension. Arya's persona was fully alive, radiant, poised, but the tranquility was fragile. My senses were heightened, every distant sound amplified into potential danger. The thrill of exposure surged through me, mingling with a sharp edge of fear. Emma remained just inside the door, her eyes locked on me, both grounding and challenging. "You're incredible out here," she whispered. Her voice carried pride, mischief, and a hint of something I couldn't place, a sense that the night was about to twist further than I expected. I smiled, trying to steady the trembling in my fingers, the subtle quiver in my knees, the rapid beat of my heart. Then it happened. A sudden flash of movement caught my eye, a shadow crossing the balcony below, someone or something approaching. My pulse surged violently. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. Emma gasped softly, her grip on the sliding door tightening. The suspense that had been building all evening coiled into a sharp, unrelenting tension. Arya had to remain poised, but the fear of exposure was now immediate and tangible. I stepped back, heels clicking against the balcony floor, trying to maintain calm as the figure below drew closer. My mind raced, weighing options, calculating risks. The shadow shifted, revealing itself, a delivery man returning, apparently mistaken or perhaps curious. Relief surged, yet it was fleeting. The close encounter had exposed me to the possibility of being seen, the persona of Arya hanging by a thin thread. Emma reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Stay composed," she whispered. "You can handle this." Her words anchored me, but the adrenaline coursing through my veins was impossible to ignore. Each breath, each movement, each subtle gesture now carried the weight of suspense, risk, and exhilarating vulnerability. I stepped back inside, letting the sliding door click shut behind me, and leaned against it for a moment, heart hammering. The experience outside had intensified Arya's persona, proving its strength, its allure, but it had also amplified the stakes. Every moment of transformation now felt like a delicate dance on a knife's edge. The room settled into a tense silence, broken only by the faint hum of the city. My reflection in the mirror caught my eye, Arya, poised, elegant, but trembling beneath the surface. Emma approached, her gaze intense, scanning every subtle detail. "You've become her completely," she murmured. "And tonight we push the limits further." Before I could respond, the unexpected happened. The phone buzzed again, this time a video call from my boss. My stomach dropped. Emma's eyes widened slightly, and a shiver ran through me. Could I answer without revealing Arya? Could I maintain the delicate balance of persona and secrecy while engaging with the real world? My hands shook as I swiped to accept the call. The screen lit up, revealing my boss's face, serious and urgent. "We need those reports immediately," they said. My pulse spiked. I'll get them to you," I stammered, voice catching slightly. Emma leaned close, whispering instructions, how to navigate the call without giving away anything, how to respond while staying fully in character. Every word, every movement, every subtle glance was critical. The call ended, leaving me trembling, drained, yet exhilarated. The suspense had reached a new height. Arya had survived an immediate threat, maintained poise under scrutiny, and navigated the intrusion of the real world without compromising the persona. Yet the emotional tension was nearly unbearable, every nerve alive, every heartbeat echoing with fear and exhilaration. Emma guided me to the living room, sitting me down carefully. "This is it," she said softly. "The moment where Arya proves herself, fully. You're ready for the ultimate test." My chest tightened. The ultimate test. What could she mean? My mind raced, pulse hammering. The suspense was nearly tangible, wrapping around me like a velvet rope of thrill and dread. Suddenly, another noise, a soft, deliberate knock at the front door, made me freeze. My heart leapt violently. Emma's hand found mine, squeezing firmly. "We can do this," she whispered. The knock repeated, insistent, closer. Every second stretched unbearably. The threat of exposure loomed larger than ever. Aria's elegance, her persona, her transformation, all balanced on a knife's edge. I moved toward the door cautiously, heels clicking softly against the floor, every step calculated. Emma's presence was reassuring, but the suspense was almost unbearable. Whoever, or whatever, stood on the other side could shatter the delicate reality we had built. Arya had to remain poised, graceful, and unflinchingly confident. Even as the fear twisted in my stomach, the adrenaline surged in my veins, and the stakes climbed higher than ever before. As I reached for the doorknob, time seemed to stretch. The suspense was at its peak. Every muscle, every nerve, every heartbeat was taut with anticipation. The world outside, the persona inside, Emma's watchful gaze, all converged into a charged, electric moment. The next instant would determine the course of the night, the integrity of Arya, and the boundaries of transformation, secrecy, and desire. The knock at the door had grown more urgent, echoing through the apartment like a warning. My heart pounded violently, every beat magnifying the tension that had been building all night. Arya's persona, poised, elegant, and radiant, stood at the brink of exposure, her every movement deliberate, each step a careful negotiation between grace and fear. Emma's hand rested lightly on my back, steadying me, yet her eyes gleamed with anticipation. "You've come this far," she whispered, her voice soft but commanding. "Now show them who Arya really is." The words were a mixture of encouragement and challenge, fueling both excitement and dread in equal measure. I approached the door cautiously, heels clicking softly against the floor, every motion measured. My fingers trembled as they reached for the doorknob, but the reflection of Arya in the nearby mirror reminded me of the elegance, strength, and confidence that now defined this persona. With a deep breath, I twisted the handle and opened the door, revealing a figure I hadn't expected, my neighbor, looking confused but curious, holding a package and a letter. The suspense hit me like a wave. One wrong word, one subtle gesture, and Arya's secret could be revealed. My palms were clammy, my legs trembling slightly, but I forced a soft smile, letting Arya's elegance radiate. "Hello," I said, my voice melodic, carefully controlled. "You must have the delivery?" The neighbor handed over the package and smiled politely. "Yes, I think this belongs to you. Sorry for the late hour." Their casual demeanor contrasted sharply with a storm of tension inside me. Once they left, the door clicked shut, and the apartment felt suddenly heavier, charged with the electric residue of suspense. Emma approached, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Perfect," she whispered, her eyes filled with admiration. "But the night isn't over. There's one more thing." My stomach tightened. What could possibly come next? The suspense was almost unbearable. Then came the test I hadn't anticipated, a video call from my workplace, unexpected and urgent. My pulse spiked. Could I handle it while remaining fully Arya? Could I maintain the delicate balance of persona and secrecy while engaging with the real world? Emma guided me, whispering instructions on how to respond gracefully while staying in character. The screen lit up. My boss's face appeared, serious and insistent. "We need the report immediately," they said. My hands shook slightly as I typed a careful, composed response. Emma's eyes were on me, grounding me, reminding me that I wasn't alone. The suspense was suffocating, every second stretching endlessly as I navigated this high-stakes challenge. Finally, the call ended, leaving me trembling, drained, yet exhilarated. Arya had survived the immediate threat, maintained poise under scrutiny, and navigated the intrusion of the real world without compromising her persona. But the emotional tension was nearly unbearable, every nerve alive, every heartbeat echoing with fear and thrill. The apartment was silent, except for the distant hum of the city. My reflection in the mirror caught my eye, Arya, poised, elegant, yet trembling with vulnerability beneath the surface. Emma stepped closer, her hand on my waist, her gaze intense. "This is it," she said softly. "The moment where Arya proves herself completely." Suddenly, the sound of footsteps from the hallway sent a jolt of panic through me. My heart raced. Someone was coming. Unexpected, immediate, and unknown. The suspense was unbearable. Emma's hand squeezed mine. "Stay calm. Stay, Arya," she whispered. I nodded, swallowing hard, forcing my body to exude confidence even as fear tightened in my chest. The footsteps stopped outside the door. I held my breath, every nerve on edge. The door handle rattled slightly. My pulse raced. The persona of Arya, the elegance, poise, and confidence I had cultivated, was about to be tested in the ultimate way. A soft voice called out from the other side. "Is anyone there?" The suspense reached its peak. I froze, caught between fear and thrill. One word, one movement could unravel everything. Arya had to remain flawless, poised, radiant, yet the vulnerability beneath her elegance was undeniable. Emma leaned close, whispering, "You're ready. No matter what happens, this is your moment." I took a deep breath, feeling every sensation: the swish of the skirt, the firmness of the heels, the smoothness of the wig, the flutter of adrenaline in my chest. The suspense, fear, and excitement merged into a singular, electrifying intensity. With trembling hands, I opened the door slightly, ready to face whoever, or whatever, stood there. My reflection in the nearby mirror caught my eye one last time. Arya, poised, elegant, breathtaking, and vulnerable. The suspense was unbearable, yet intoxicating, a heady blend of fear, thrill, and transformation. And then, just as I was about to speak, the screen went black. My phone, still on the video call, glitched, leaving me frozen, heart pounding, on the verge of revelation. The apartment was silent, the world outside oblivious, but inside, every second stretched endlessly, every heartbeat echoing the suspense of what would happen next. Arya stood there, poised and trembling, caught between two realities: the secret world she had built and the possibility of exposure that lurked just beyond the door. The climax had reached its peak, and the night was far from over. Every element, the persona, the suspense, the thread of discovery, the intimacy with Emma, converged into a single, electrifying moment of tension. The story paused here, leaving the audience suspended in anticipation, hearts racing alongside Arya's, desperate to know, would her secret be exposed? Would Emma protect her? Or would the thrill of transformation be challenged in ways she had never imagined? The apartment was silent, thick with tension, the city lights casting faint reflections across the floor. Arya stood frozen, every nerve alert, every heartbeat pounding in her chest. The door outside loomed like a barrier between safety and revelation, each second stretching into eternity. My reflection in the mirror was flawless, elegant, poised, but the vulnerability beneath it shimmered like glass, fragile and ready to shatter. Emma's hand rested lightly on my back, grounding me, a reminder that I wasn't alone in this precarious moment. "Whatever happens," she whispered, "stay, Arya. You've come too far to falter now." Her voice carried warmth, reassurance, and a subtle edge of thrill that sent a shiver down my spine. I nodded slightly, taking a deliberate breath, trying to steady both my nerves and my trembling hands. The door handle rattled again, soft but insistent, and I could feel my pulse accelerating, threatening to betray the calm facade of Arya. The suspense was unbearable, every muscle in my body tensed, every thought split between fear and exhilaration. I could feel the persona I had built over weeks, carefully cultivated, hanging by a thread. Then, a soft knock from inside the apartment jarred me even further, the intercom buzzing simultaneously. My body stiffened. Who or what was trying to reach me? Emma's eyes met mine, wide with anticipation, and she whispered, "You've got this. Show them, Arya." I swallowed hard, forcing a small, composed smile. Every sensation, the swish of the skirt, the delicate click of the heels, the weight of the wig, the faint brush of makeup on my skin, was amplified by the suspense, making me both vulnerable and powerful at the same time. I approached the door slowly, every step measured, the tension coiling tighter around my chest. Each tap of the heels against the floor echoed like a drumbeat, a countdown to the unknown. I could hear Emma's soft, encouraging breathing behind me, a lifeline as I reached for the knob. My hand shook, but I forced it steady, ready to confront the mystery waiting on the other side. The door opened slowly, and a figure appeared, familiar, yet unexpected. It was my neighbor again, but their face was now serious, tinged with suspicion. My stomach twisted. The package they had delivered earlier was now in their hands, along with a letter I hadn't noticed. Their eyes scanned the room, lingering on me, and a flicker of doubt crossed their expression. I froze, unsure how much to reveal, unsure how much Arya could withstand without faltering. Emma's whisper was soft but urgent. "Stay calm. Let Arya shine." I nodded, drawing in a shaky breath. The persona of Arya, the elegance, the poise, the confidence I had fought to cultivate, had to hold. Every gesture, every smile, every word now carried the weight of secrecy, desire, and risk. "I think this is yours," the neighbor said, extending the letter. Their gaze lingered longer than necessary, and my heart hammered in my chest. The suspense was suffocating, a tight knot of fear and exhilaration. I took the letter carefully, my fingers brushing theirs, a spark of tension electrifying the air. Once they left, closing the door softly behind them, I sank against the wall, trembling. Emma's hand found mine, and she gave it a reassuring squeeze. "You did it," she whispered. Yet the thrill didn't fade. The suspense remained, thicker, more intoxicating than ever. Arya's persona had survived, but only just. I opened the letter with trembling fingers, the delicate paper brushing against my skin. Inside was a note, crisp and formal, that I hadn't expected. My eyes widened as I read the words, a sudden invitation to a mysterious event, an opportunity that would challenge Arya in ways I couldn't yet imagine, a situation where the stakes were higher, the exposure more imminent, and the transformation even deeper. My breath caught. Emma leaned closer, eyes sparkling with anticipation. "Looks like Arya's journey is just beginning," she whispered. The excitement in her voice was mirrored by the pounding of my own heart. The suspense had shifted from immediate danger to a looming challenge, a test that would push every boundary of identity, secrecy, and desire. I looked into the mirror one last time for that night. Arya's reflection stared back, elegant, confident, radiant, yet fragile, trembling beneath the surface. The persona I had worked so hard to embody was real, alive, and vibrant. But the note in my hand was a reminder that the world outside, with its uncertainties and potential discoveries, was waiting. The camera of the story lingers on my reflection, the shadows of the room dancing faintly across the walls. Every heartbeat, every flicker of emotion, every quiver in Arya's posture told the audience one undeniable truth. The journey had only just begun, the stakes had never been higher, and the suspense was far from over. A sudden sound, a soft knock, echoed from the hallway again. My pulse jumped, every sense alert. Emma's hand rested on my shoulder, grounding me, yet the thrill, fear, and anticipation surged like electricity. The screen fades to black, leaving the audience suspended, hearts racing, minds whirling with questions. Will Arya's secret be discovered? How far will the transformation go? And what unexpected twist awaits in the next chapter? The suspense was complete, leaving viewers desperate for more, their imaginations ignited, hearts pounding alongside Arya's.